Germany's new government is starting its first full day in office with a packed agenda that includes dealing with a health system strained by the fourth wave of the coronavirus pandemic. The new Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, convened his three-party cabinet for the first time on Wednesday evening. Scholz, a social democrat, will lead a 17-member cabinet with the environmentalist Green Party and the market-friendly Free Democrats. Earlier, he took up his post in the Chancellery building when outgoing Chancellor Angela Merkel officially handed over to her successor after 16 years in power. Scholz served for 4 years under Merkel as Vice Chancellor and Finance Minister. The mutual respect between the old and new German leaders was apparent in the warm words between them in what many have described as a textbook democratic handover of power.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Congratulations, dear Chancellor, dear Olaf Scholz. I know from my own experience that it is a moving occasion to be elected to this office. As you perhaps can imagine, it is an exciting, fulfilling job and a demanding one. But if you approach it with enthusiasm, then it's perhaps one of the most beautiful jobs there is, to bear responsibility for this country. I sincerely wish you good luck and every success for our country.
I think it's something very special to be Federal Chancellor of this Republic. It's a great challenge. I'm very grateful that the citizens of this country and the German Bundestag have given me the mandate to do this. The fact that you and I were able to share so many experiences together will help me fulfill my role. Thank you again for the work you've done.
Earlier, we spoke to our correspondent, Nina Haase. She sent us this assessment.
Olaf Scholz's first day in his new position as Germany's new Chancellor is a full one. Of course, he has to deal with a couple of domestic issues. Tonight, he'll attend the consultations between the 16 regional leaders here in Germany who will sit down and discuss the current and also future possible anti-COVID measures, because, of course, it's vital also for this new government to tackle this fourth wave of the corona pandemic. And then there are a couple of organizational events Olaf Scholz attends because the handover process from Angela Merkel's team to his has to be completed. But today also sees Olaf Scholz jump onto the international stage in his new role for the very first time, attending the Virtual Democracy Summit convened by US President Joe Biden. Now, Olaf Scholz is a firm believer in the idea of multilateralism and in jointly fighting authoritarianism and corruption worldwide. He's also promised to help uphold human rights worldwide. There are a lot of international crises that give him no time to waste, which is why his first official visits will take him on Friday to Paris and Brussels, where events on the Ukrainian border and the dispute between the US and Russia are going to be on the table.
Germany's new foreign minister is in Brussels for the latest stop of her diplomatic tour on her first day in the job. Annalena Baerbock is in the Belgian capital to meet with the European Union's foreign policy chief and NATO officials. She began the day in Paris with her French counterpart and will later travel to Poland. She has promised to take a tougher line with authoritarian states. Ms. Baerbock told journalists that there was plenty to discuss ahead of this weekend's meeting of G7 foreign ministers.
Many topics are on the table. We have the situation on the border between Belarus and Poland, the current situation in Ukraine, then the further deployment of troops on the Ukrainian border, and of course then on to clarification of the position and any action Europe will take ahead of the G7 summit.
I'm joined now by our Brussels bureau chief, Alexandra von Nahmen. Alexandra, it's the first full day in office for the new foreign minister, Annalena Baerbock. She's visited Paris. Brussels is next. What's on her agenda in the EU capital today?
Well, the first thing on her agenda is a meeting with EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell. That is taking place in the building right behind me. And we had a chance to catch up with the German Foreign Minister before the meeting. And I asked her, what is the biggest foreign policy challenge for Berlin and for the European Union from her perspective. And she told us that she thinks that it's very important right now for the European Union to be united and to speak with one voice when it comes to the many challenges the bloc is facing. For example, the crisis at the EU's external border with Belarus, or Russia's military buildup at the border with Ukraine. And that is probably the topic that is going to be on the agenda during her meeting with NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg later today.
Baerbock has already talked about ensuring that climate change is a priority. What do her counterparts in the EU expect from her? Continuity or change?
Well, she had indicated in the past that she would like Germany to take a tougher stance on Russia and China. So I can imagine that her counterparts here in Brussels would like to hear more about that. But overall, the signals that Brussels has got from the new German government are pointing to continuity in German foreign policy. And that is something that many here will feel reassured by, because, of course, everyone knows how big the role is that Germany is playing in the European Union, and many are hoping for continuity in German foreign policy.
Many thanks, Alexandra. That's Alexandra von Nahmen, DW Brussels Bureau Chief.